Thank you for coming so quickly when you're called, baby boy. So obedient. Oh, no, it's nothing urgent. I simply wanted to spend some time with you, my lost boy. I've been busy most of the day, thinking about you. I'd love nothing more than to simply enjoy some time with you by the fire. Come here. Come close and let me hold you, love. You're so warm. I apologize that I can't warm you up from my body in the same way. I have a fireplace, but no body heat. Oh, that's very sweet. I love the way you feel when you snuggle against me as well. And you smell good. Darling, I've been thinking about what happened a while back with my little breakdown. I'm deeply sorry you had to see that. Yes, I know. We agreed that it's all right for me to be vulnerable, but still, I've been thinking about it. I suppose I'm not quite comfortable with showing personal weakness to anyone, not even you. In fact, especially to you. Well, the way you look up to me means something, and I find I'm afraid to lose that. Not to mention your eyes get so adorably wide when I flaunt my powers or my wealth or my experience. You really do love a woman who's capable, don't you? Yes. Let's not forget how precious you look when you blush. There it is, spreading across your adorable cheeks. It's so funny. Well, I can't bear to be seen as weak, but you can't seem to handle praise. Perhaps we complement each other in that way. Come to think of it, sometimes I wonder why I never tried. But to find someone like you, of course. When I was mortal, I was seeing someone just like you, in fact. Oh, we were so happy. But listen to me, talking about an old lover to my current one. How thoughtless. Oh? Well, you're right. I don't talk about my mortal life much. I suppose it's like how a mortal doesn't necessarily talk about what was important to them when they were a child. It comes up occasionally, but they're simply so different now that who you were doesn't much resemble who you are now. Yes. I suppose that's fair, though honestly, I don't really think I was especially interesting as a mortal. I was actually a little bit older when I was turned than my appearance suggests. Yes. The process of becoming a vampire has a slightly de-aging effect. I never did get married. So many people wanted and expected me to that I remained single for a long time, surely out of spite, really. I found other ways to occupy my time instead. I was actually a bit of an artist. So different from my livelihood now. I've become much more pragmatic over the centuries, it seems. Yes, eventually I did find someone that I cared for. He was such a sweet thing. The two of you don't resemble each other physically, of course, but he was so like you in spirit. Kind, respectful, a bit timid, but with such a strong emotional intelligence, it shone through. couldn't not see it. You're curious, are you? He would come to me often and ask me about my masterpieces. That's what he called them anyway. If I'm being honest, he was being generous with that term. But he always had so many questions about them. He was such a good listener, not unlike you. I suppose I found it encouraging to have someone who simply cared, who noticed me, even though I was older. You're much the same way, you know. I have all the other dear ones who care about me, of course, but none of them are like you. You're so wonderfully thoughtful of me. You seem to appreciate the things that I do, just as my mortal lover made me feel like a talented and skilled artist, the one I tried to be. You invite me to feel like a powerful, confident vampire, the person I try to be now. Back then, I had to part ways with him, thanks to my death, or undeath, rather. No, I never did try to make it work with him. It would have torn him up to see me like this, probably just as much as it did for him to learn that I died. By letting him believe that I was resting in peace, he at least had a chance to move on. Well, that is exactly the sort of sweet, optimistic thing I would expect you to say, but it's worth noting that I've had centuries to clean up my act. Truth is, when I was first turned, I was actually quite a wreck. I struggled constantly with my bloodlust, and I was full of self-loathing. I constantly struggled with thoughts of suicide, of revenge against the vampire who made me this way, which, if I had acted on my revenge plans, it would have actually been suicide, because I wasn't nearly as powerful as I am now. Let's suffice it to say, I wasn't in a healthy mindset, a place where it would have been even fair to continue a relationship. I ended up leaving my hometown behind. Seeing him was painful. I was searching for help. That's what led me here. Oh yes, Neventide was well established even all those centuries ago, although it was much more secretive back then. To tell you the truth, I had a lot to do with bringing the knowledge of this wonderful place to a larger world. Before me, the vampires of the city believed that secrecy was their best weapon, and so knowledge of it was extremely limited. If a non-vampire learned of its existence, they were taken and kept here. Made it very difficult to get the workers we needed to build it, to keep it running. Even more difficult to get supplies. Most of all, it made it hard for vampires to know that we even existed, that there was an alternative to hiding, living in the shadows, preying on the innocent, becoming monsters. After I got settled here, I gradually started to raise in standing, and I used that to my advantage to push the idea of revealing ourselves to the world. I think things are much better now. Being exposed to the world means that we have to be vigilant in case of attack, but we've never encountered a force we weren't prepared for. Now we can actually do what Neventide was founded to do. Be a safe haven for vampires who want to live peacefully. Not to mention it's what allowed me to start my practice of rescuing slaves for the Lost Boys. Leave it to you to ask good questions. Actually, I've been thinking about that lately. About whether I'm really doing a good thing here. I mean, there can be no doubt that the slaves I buy, like you, would have suffered much worse fates otherwise. But is that enough to justify it? I do my best to provide for you all, but I don't really offer you much of a choice, do I? Did I? Thank you. The thing is, I know that most of my dear ones would leave if given the choice. Not because I mistreat them, of course, but simply because it was something thrust upon them. I gave them a better life than they would have had they been sold to someone else. In fact, for most of them, it's a better life than they would have had if they hadn't been captured at all. But if you boil it all down, this life, better or not, wasn't their choice. I find it leaves me in a difficult position. If I let them all go, I wouldn't have enough to feed myself. My options would be minimal. I could starve to death, of course, or more likely be ruled by bloodlust, start killing to feed myself. When a vampire gets truly hungry, they tend to lose their self-control, their humanity. That's what would end up happening unless I locked myself away. Yes, that's why I tell myself that what I do is the fairest, best option, but is that a delusion? I find it so deeply confusing the more I think about it that... Is doing a good deed enough? If I could be doing more good by sacrificing myself, what about my fortune? Am I a bad person if I don't give all my money away? This is a huge mansion. My life is extravagant. If I were left destitute, there would still be people who are worse off than me, so when do you stop giving it all away? When is owning anything, fair? Oh, love. Shh. And I don't mean this in a bad way. But I honestly didn't worry about things until we became a couple. Being with you, I find I want to be the best person I can. Moral ambiguity just doesn't feel as acceptable anymore. I brought you here to ask you what you think. From your side, you were so scared the night I bought you. Was that fear justified? Am I the frightening creature you thought I was? Do you want to be here? Thank you, my love. My lost boy. It makes me very happy to hear that you have found happiness here. Perhaps you're right. I didn't have to make all my dear ones as comfortable as they are. If I'm already doing more than I need to, then who could ask me to do more, besides myself? I suppose it comes down to what do I want. And now, since you are part of me, what do you want? You are so good to me, for me. I do believe I just stripped my soul naked for you a second time this week. I keep saying I want to be strong for you, but if you watch my behavior, it seems that you pull all the vulnerabilities out of me. Do you like that? I suppose it's a testament to how loving and accepting you are of me. Do you feel the same? Loved? accepted as you are. Good. Is there anything you need to talk about? Any dark corners of your childhood, perhaps, that you'd like to share? Thank you. We can talk about it later if you'd like. Am I boring? You're looking at your watch. You have an appointment to play a game. Oh, don't let me keep you. I do like to see you happy. Why don't you return to what you were doing before, and then your game? Yes, laugh. Fill these halls with human joy. Kiss me. Take care. I love you, pet. My dear, sweet human. After all that soul-bearing, why couldn't I bring myself to tell him about the message? When am I going to gather the courage? Boop the like button. And the bell. Good boy.